When you imagine becoming the heiress to a monumental old money fortune that spans not one, but two European dynasties, you'd likely envision a life draped in luxury, opulent galas, exclusive parties, and leisurely afternoons on sun-drenched yachts. In this world, perfumed by the salty breeze of the Mediterranean and lined with the silks of couture fashion, we'd like to think, only promises a daily existence wrapped in pleasure and privilege. Yet, for Athina Onassis, a descendant of the storied Onassis and Niarchos Greek shipping dynasties, this fantasy was far from reality. Born into wealth that most can only dream of, Athina's life was quickly overshadowed by familial discord and tragedy. For instance, her mother, Christina, led a life marked by emotional turmoil and untimely passing, leaving young Athina with a legacy tinged with sorrow rather than just splendor. Then, inheritance disputes soon followed, entangling Athina's billion-dollar birthright in legal battles and public scrutiny. Worse still, her marriage, which should have been a fairy tale continuation of her storied lineage, crumbled under the weight of betrayal when her husband was reportedly unfaithful. In today's episode, we'll unveil the secrets of this iconic old money heiress, from her 18th birthday celebration that reportedly racked in at least $1 billion to the enigmatic troubles of one of the 21st century's most private heiresses, as we describe. Athina Onassis, the billionaire heiress who can't escape drama. Welcome to the world of Athina Onassis, where money doesn't just talk, it launches 1,000 ships. And Athina, the last in line of the legendary Aristotle Onassis fortune, stands uniquely at the confluence of not one, but two of the grandest shipping empires Greece has ever seen. Imagine, if you will, the colossal weight of inheritance from the Onassis and the Niarchos families, two names that could comfortably fund their own small countries, and often come close in the form of owning lavish Greek islands. Now, Athina's maternal lineage is a stroll down millionaire's lane, directly leading to Aristotle Onassis, the titan of shipping, who not only collected ships and cash, but also managed to woo Jacqueline Kennedy into a high-profile marriage. And when Aristotle's curtain fell in 1975, he left behind a cool $500 million, chump change by today's billionaire-heavy standards perhaps, but a whopping $2.3 billion when adjusted for inflation. His daughter Christina, Athina's mother, initially held the reins to this fortune until her own untimely demise in 1988, at which point young Athina, a mere tot, became the heiress to what might just be the mother of all piggy banks. But wait, there's more. Athina is not just an Onassis. Through her grandmother, Tina Livanos, she's tied to another behemoth of the seas, Stavros Niarchos, a man whose rivalry with Aristotle was the stuff of Greek legend, with enough plot twists to make a soap opera blush. And Niarchos, who built supertankers as if they were Lego sets, left behind a treasure trove worth $12 billion, ensuring the family gatherings were probably more about asset management than passing the salt. Now, the spoils of this family feud are, in part, real estate galore, mansions in Paris, Geneva, and a little seaside retreat on Ibiza, just for the summer, mind you. And then there was Skorpios, a Greek island so idyllic that Aristotle and Jackie O treated it as their personal Eden. At least, that is until 2013, when Athina handed over the keys to Skorpios to Russian billionaire Ekaterina Rybolovleva, for what we assume was a minor trifle of $150 million. And because no billionaire's tale is quite complete without mentioning troves of twinkling baubles, Athina's story includes a dazzling array of jewels and a smattering of high art. Rodins here, Impressionists there, the sort of collection that would make even the most seasoned auctioneer weak at the knees. Despite this gold-plated, jewel-encrusted, island-hopping heritage, Athina Onassis tries to keep it low-key, shying away from the glare of the public eye. And yet, all that glitters is not gold in Greece, and Athina Onassis's lineage is chock full of high seas drama, heart-wrenching tragedy, and much more. In the next chapter, we'll roll back the clock and explain how this 21st century heiress has one of the most fascinating backstories we've ever featured on this channel. In the 21st century, Athina Onassis stands at a perilous crossroads, the last of her name, the final heir to the intertwined legacies of two of Greece's most powerful dynasties. Thus, her story is not just hers alone, but a shadowy reflection of two giants. Aristotle Onassis, her grandfather, and Stavros Niarchos, the man who both rivaled and mirrored him in ways that went far beyond mere business. First, Aristotle Onassis, the man who emerged from the ashes of Smyrna, was a force of nature. His journey from a modest start in the bustling ports of what is now Izmir to ruling one of the most formidable shipping empires was nothing short of legendary. And Onassis was more than a businessman. He was a master strategist, a man whose every move was calculated to propel him higher, farther. You see, his marriage to Athina Livanos, the daughter of another shipping magnate, was no simple union of love. It was a strategic alliance, a move that solidified his power within the Greek shipping elite. On the other side was Stavros Niarchos, born into an affluent Athenian family whose eyes were set on the future of global trade. Niarchos was no less ambitious than Onassis, and he too understood the power of strategic marriages. His vision, however, lay in the vast potential of oil transportation, leading him to build a fleet of supertankers that could rival the empire Onassis had painstakingly constructed. Therefore, Niarchos too tied his fate to the Livanos family, marrying Eugenia Livanos, sister to Onassis's wife, and in doing so, he stepped into a rivalry that would become legendary. But the marriages of these two men to the Livanos sisters were not mere social contracts. They were declarations of war, battles fought not with weapons, but with wealth, influence, and legacy. Onassis, never one to shy away from the public eye, cemented his place on the world stage with his marriage to Jacqueline Kennedy, the widow of a fallen American president. This union was a masterstroke, linking him to the world's most powerful political dynasty, a move that resonated across oceans and continents. Yet, their battle was not confined to the seas or the sprawling empires they built. The heirs to these legacies have been shaped in the crucible of this rivalry. Athina Onassis, the last of her line, has chosen a path of discretion, distancing herself from the world her ancestors dominated. Her Niarchos cousins, however, have embraced the public eye, continuing their family's tradition of philanthropy and influence through the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. And yet it was the many would say wild upbringing of Athina's mother, Christina Onassis, that would have the biggest effect on the young heiress's life. Christina Onassis, Athina's mother, entered the world on the 11th of December 1950 in New York City as a child born into the heights of wealth and influence. At the time, her father, Aristotle Onassis, was among the richest men alive, and her mother, Athina Livanos, was the daughter of another aforementioned shipping titan. Thus, Christina's life began in a swirl of luxury, with homes scattered across Paris, Greece, and England. Yet, beneath the surface of this glittering existence, shadows loomed. You see, her parents' marriage, troubled by her father's notorious affair with the opera singer Maria Callas, unraveled when Christina was just 10 years old. And this scandal, played out under the harsh light of public scrutiny, left Christina feeling humiliated. Then, the 1960s were marked by a difficult relationship between Christina and her father. Aristotle Onassis, a man known for his overbearing nature, had high expectations for his daughter, and he intended for her to take over the family empire one day. Yet, while Christina admired her father, their bond was often strained. The tension between them only deepened when Aristotle married Jacqueline Kennedy in 1968. Neither Christina nor her brother Alexander trusted their new stepmother, and they never grew close to her. Therefore, this already fragile family structure was shattered further when Alexander died in a plane crash in 1973, a tragedy that devastated both Christina and her father. The following years brought more sorrow, with the death of her mother in 1974 and her father's passing in 1975. Consequently, Christina was left alone to bear the weight of the Onassis fortune, a burden that would follow her for the rest of her life. Then, the 1970s and 1980s were turbulent years for Christina, marked by a series of troubled marriages. Her first marriage, at just 20 years old, was to Joseph Bolker, a real estate developer who was 27 years older than her, and this union, reportedly disapproved of by her father, lasted a mere 9 months. After her father's death, Christina married Alexander Andreadis, a Greek shipping heir, but this marriage also ended in divorce after just over a year. Her third marriage, to Sergei Kauzov, a Russian shipping agent, fared no better, lasting from 1978 to 1979. But it was in 1984 that Christina entered into her fourth and final marriage with Thierry Roussel, a French businessman and the future father of Athina. Now, Thierry Roussel, born on the 16th of February 1953 in Neuilly-sur-Seine, France, came from a prominent family involved in the pharmaceutical industry. His father, Henri Roussel, led a company responsible for developing the controversial drug RU486, and Thierry's mother, Francine Grinda, was part of a well-connected family, with her father being the French politician Édouard Grinda. Thierry had two sisters, Patricia and Christine, with the latter becoming a duchess, in fact, and he completed his high school education in 1972 and studied economics at Panthéon-Assas University. Now, Athina's parents, Thierry and Christina, first crossed paths as teenagers, but their lives took different directions before reconnecting in the early 1980s. And despite Thierry's relationship with the Swedish model Marianne Gaby Landage, Christina eventually won him over, and they married in 1984. This marriage, however, was troubled from the start. Christina seemed deeply infatuated with Thierry, but his ongoing affair with Landage and his disinterest in a genuine marital relationship cast a long shadow over their union. Their honeymoon in the Caribbean was the beginning of a rocky marriage. Christina's mental health issues, coupled with Thierry's infidelities, made for a volatile relationship. The couple had one child, Athina Onassis Roussel, born in 1985. However, their marriage deteriorated rapidly, and divorce proceedings began just 8 months after Athina's birth. Christina, desperate to keep the marriage alive, went so far as to financially support Thierry and even proposed a shared arrangement with Landage, but these efforts were in vain. The divorce was finalized in 1987, but the complex and troubled relationship between Christina and Thierry continued until her death in 1988. It was within this tragic set of circumstances, despite being raised into immense wealth, that one Athina Onassis would grow up. Athina Onassis was born on the 29th of January 1985 in the American Hospital of Paris, located in Neuilly-sur-Seine, France. And from the moment she took her first breath, she was the living continuation of a legacy steeped in wealth and power, as she was the only heir of Aristotle Onassis. Yet Athina's early years were shadowed by misfortune and complications that would shape her life in ways few could imagine. As mentioned previously, her parents' marriage was filled with problems, yet Athina, oblivious to the adult chaos surrounding her, was baptized on Skorpios, the island that symbolized her family's immense fortune and influence. Then, at the tender age of 3, Athina's life took a cruel turn. Her mother, Christina Onassis, passed away suddenly in November 1988, the victim of pulmonary edema. This tragic event left Athina as the last direct link to the Onassis fortune, an inheritance that would later place her among the wealthiest young women in the world. With Christina gone, the responsibility of raising Athina fell to her father, Thierry Roussel, who had by then committed himself to Gaby Landage, the woman who had once been his mistress and was now his wife. As she grew, Athina's existence was a peculiar mix of unimaginable wealth and efforts at a normal childhood. The family settled in Lucy-sur-Morge, Switzerland, where she attended school, mingling with other children who had no idea of the empire that awaited her. But Roussel, perhaps in an effort to shield her from the corrupting influence of too much money too soon, ensured that Athina received no more pocket money than her half-siblings. Indeed, it was a curious upbringing for a girl who one day would control a fortune that spanned continents. Her education was carefully curated, leading her to a preparatory course in Brussels, Belgium, and it was here that she faced the challenge of the baccalaureate exam, which she successfully passed in the summer of 2003. But Brussels offered more than just academic pursuits. It was in this city that Athina discovered a passion that would become central to her life: equestrian sports. Horses, with their grace and power, captivated her, providing a rare avenue for expression and escape from the pressures of her inheritance. Yet, through these formative years, the Onassis fortune, so vast and intricate, was not hers to control. You see, Christina Onassis always held a certain distrust towards Thierry Roussel, the man her daughter would one day call father. In fact, she saw him as a potential threat, a man whose ambitions could easily veer off course. And to guard against any unwanted surprises, she had the family wealth placed under the watchful eyes of a board of administrators, a group she handpicked herself. The chosen trustees were Stelio Papadimitriou, Paul Ioannidis, Apostolos Zabelas, and Theodore Gabrielides, men who understood the seriousness of their duty. As young Athina grew up, every penny spent in her name required the board's nod of approval. Certainly, it was a system that grated on Father Roussel's nerves, so much so that he once threatened to pack his bags and head back to France, where the estate's tax obligations would have been far steeper. And though she was only 13, Athina already felt a deep resentment towards anything related to her Greek heritage. In one of her rare interviews, she confessed to an Italian magazine that she believed the Onassis name was the root of all her troubles. Then, her stepmother, Gabi Landhage, confirmed this sentiment during an appearance on American television, recounting how Athina had once said that if she could, she would burn every last dollar of the Onassis fortune. Yet on her 18th birthday, Athina assumed control of her portion of her mother, Christina Onassis' estate, estimated to be worth between $700 million and $1 billion, instantly making her one of the wealthiest individuals in the world. However, another battle began after she turned 21 in 2006, when her lawyers attempted and failed to secure her position as president of the Onassis Foundation. In fact, the board was unyielding, deeming her unqualified and asserting that she had no legitimate claim to Aristotle Onassis' estate. They cited her lack of connection to Greek culture, unfamiliarity with the language, absence of formal education, and complete lack of work experience as evidence of her unsuitability. They even invoked the memory of her late uncle Alexander, arguing that Athina had little in common with the legacy left by her grandfather. Yet, despite the intense legal battles and challenges Athina Onassis faced in her quest to become president of the Onassis Foundation after her 21st birthday, she did receive the remainder of her inheritance at that time. And regarding romance, around the same time, in March 2003, Onassis found herself drawn to Álvaro de Miranda Neto, a Brazilian showjumper with 2 Olympic medals to his name. The relationship quickly grew serious, and she made the move to São Paulo, purchasing a luxurious duplex with sweeping views of Ibirapuera Park for $8.6 million. By December 2005, the two were married in a ceremony brimming with Brazilian VIPs and equestrian friends. Yet, absent were her father and stepmother. The couple, suspiciously uninterested in extravagant gifts, encouraged their guests to make charitable donations instead. But the marriage didn't last. By 2016, the couple had separated following allegations of infidelity on Miranda's part, and the ensuing divorce was swift and complex, with Onassis securing the services of the formidable lawyer Robert Stephen Cohen. Legal battles spilled into the courts of Antwerp, Belgium, where Onassis had been living. Miranda contested the prenuptial agreement and demanded alimony, while disputes over the ownership of their horses added further complications. The divorce was finally settled in November 2017, and Onassis returned to Greece to start anew. Yet, despite the personal turmoil, Athina remained steadfast in her pursuit of equestrian excellence. Indeed, she had been a competitive showjumper since childhood, and in 2001 she claimed second place in an event in Jerez, Spain. Competing under the Greek flag for the Avlona Riding Club in Athens, she continued to make her mark. Even a spinal injury in 2012 couldn't keep her from representing Greece in the European Show Jumping Championships in 2013 and the World Championships in 2014. Therefore, Athina Onassis has carved out her own space in the world of equestrian sports, not just as a competitor, but also as a patron. The Athina Onassis International Horse Show, established in 2007 in São Paulo, eventually found its home on the glamorous shores of Pampelon Beach in Saint-Tropez by 2014. The horse breeding and training business she co-owned with her former husband in Belgium, AD Sport Horses, continued to operate, a lasting symbol of her enduring connection to the sport. And now, we'd love to see you in the comments. What is your opinion of the life of Athina Onassis and the women of the Onassis family in general? Is it something to be admired and envied? Or is it an example of money doesn't buy you happiness? And perhaps life as a, quote, normal person is more desirable than all the drama. We thrive off of your thoughts, so be sure to leave your feelings. And thanks again for joining us for another episode of Old Money Luxury. Cheers, until next time.